What is going on, everybody? This is Josh back again with another video on Tekken-ish. Now, today what I want to talk about is Power. Now, if you haven't been watching Power, you are missing out on something. This episode was crazy. I'm talking about people dying left and right, people snitching. It was amazing. I actually like this episode a lot. They're ending Power off with a banger. Man, I'm telling you, this was a good episode. So this video is going to be about Power Season 6, Episode 5, and I can't wait to talk to you about it, so let's talk about it. So if you kind of remember what happened on Episode 4, Proctor ended up basically killing his wife. He kind of did what Walter White did to Jesse's girl, where he saw her having an overdose and he basically didn't do nothing. That's basically what Proctor did to his ex-wife. He knew certain things to tell her, so she would end up basically going to go buy drugs, jump off the wagon, and basically having an overdose. So Proctor's daughter ends up calling him, telling him, hey, you need to come over here because mom's having basically drug problems. So he ends up going over there, and she took like a hella coke. She's over there just tripping balls, and she basically has an overdose. Proctor ends up seeing everything. He tells her, you're not going to take my daughter away from me. And if you actually remember, Sax gave his ex-wife basically like a unicorn, telling her, place this on your daughter's backpack and it'll record every single thing. Proctor didn't know anything about that, and now they basically got him on that. So Sax is basically doing all this stuff off the books, so he basically got Proctor in his hand. Tariq is still selling to the Irish, and I bet you anything he's going to start messing everything up, and this episode will actually show you he messes everything up. What kind of surprised me is that girl that he was talking to, you see them here playing chess. I actually thought she was down with him, but instead she basically just turns his ass over to the dean, and he gets expelled for selling drugs. I'm thinking maybe she did that because she wanted him out of the picture, which I don't know why. I mean, she was making money, so I don't know what the hell her plan was. But you end up seeing her texting some person, and she's actually also selling on the side. I guess she has her own little crew that she's selling for, and she ends up texting that person that she thinks that he's out of product. So she's basically just playing him, which I thought was kind of foul. But, I mean, that is how the game is. So here you end up seeing Sax talking to Rodriguez, and she's basically letting him know that she doesn't think Ghost had anything to do with Angela's death because of the trajectory of the gunshot wound, and Ghost didn't have any gunpowder, and basically like he was in the way of it. But Sax, he doesn't want to hear that. He thinks Ghost had something to do with it. Somehow he did something to it. So he's basically like, he's driven to put this on Ghost, and Rodriguez is basically telling him she does not think that Ghost actually did it. You also end up seeing Tasha. She looks like she's having money trouble, so she ends up talking to Tommy, and she basically is asking him for money. What she wants to do is actually clean money through her daycare. Her daycare is basically people giving her money for taking care of her kids, and from that money she'll basically launder it. But it looks like Tommy doesn't want to roll with that. Tommy and Keisha are having their own thing, and Keisha doesn't want nothing to do with Tasha. So Tasha is basically asking him, come on, let's do this. But Tommy ain't having it because Keisha don't want nothing to do with Tasha no more. Now, this is one of the scenes that I actually thought was messed up on what Sax did to Andre. Now, of course, I don't like Andre. I don't think anybody likes Andre. Now, but the fact of what he did to him on this scene was messed up. He ends up telling Andre that he needs to give him more information because what he's giving him is not cutting it. And he kind of like points to the back of where Andre is at. And you end up seeing his daughter in a car, and she's just bawling, like she's just crying because she wants to be with her father. And man, I thought that scene was messed up because of what is Sax doing. And it seems like Sax is doing every single thing off the books. It looks like nobody actually knows what's happening. And, as the episode goes on, his boss ends up figuring out what's happening, and it kind of doesn't go well for him. But I thought this scene was all messed up. So his boss ends up texting Boss Sax and tells him, hey, you need to get in the office right away. Boss Sax goes up in there, and then that's when they end up finding out that he is actually doing a lot of stuff off the books. His boss ends up finding out because the FBI agents that went to the safe house where that girl is about to testify against Ghost. There's a lot of FBI agents who went over there, and they all obviously they wrote in their time for overtime. So he saw that time card, and now he's basically pissed because he doesn't know anything of what's going on. And on top of that, he didn't even catch Ghost in the act of killing that witness. And basically, he got nothing. Boss Sax ends up thinking like, okay, you know, I at least got this because I got Andre on my side. He's my CI, and I actually have Proctor's wife. But he actually doesn't know that Proctor's ex-wife is dead. So he basically tells his boss, "Let me ride along with you." And I know exactly why he wants to do this, because he wants to go pick up that unicorn thing. So Boss Sax ends up riding along with his boss, and then we'll see what happens from there. Tasha ends up, you know, she has her own daycare, so she ends up having to watch this kid for longer than what she's supposed to. And I guess her mother's a stripper, and she ends up going to go pick him up, and she's basically telling him, you know, you got to give me some money off this because it's extra $100 for this. Tasha ends up leaving her daycare, and some guy comes out of the neighborhood basically telling her that she has to pay off the community. That way she can still have her business running. Now, of course, you've seen this in a ton of movies. If you end up buying something in the neighborhood, you always got that one person saying, if you want your business to go well, you got to pay me for it. So you kind of end up seeing that happen here. Now, I was actually hoping maybe Ghost or maybe Tommy was just going to come out of the blue and probably just knock this guy out. But of course, Tasha ain't messing with Ghost anymore, and Tommy is just out there doing his own thing. So that did not happen. Now, Ghost is talking to Andre. He's kind of like telling him a little bit of information of what's going on with Jason and Tommy. He obviously sees that Jason wants a distro and Andre wants to do that, but it kind of makes it seem like they're not going to do it. I kind of feel like maybe Andre is going to take over Tommy's position as the distro, but I don't know how that's going to roll. And you see Ghost basically looking at him like, that's not going to happen. You're not going to be Jason's distro. So you might as well just let that shit go. So here comes the scene where Boss Sax and his boss ends up going to Proctor's house to basically go pay him a visit and try to make it seem like the witness is still on board. Sax and his boss, they throw out that the witness got bribed. That's why she's not testifying anymore. So they end up going over there. They kind of bluff him, saying that the witness is still going to talk and she's going to end up testifying against Ghost. Boss Sax ends up saying, hey, let me use your bathroom, using the old trick in the book. Let me use your bathroom. He walks over there and he ends up seeing that unicorn on the floor. He grabs it and he ends up walking out with it. Now you end up seeing Tariq. It looks like he's actually hiding all of his product in a classroom. It looks like a classroom that nobody ends up using. It has an old school overhead kind of thing. And it looks like he's actually separating out all of his drugs. I don't know what he was doing right here at this point, because it kind of doesn't explain it until a little bit later. But you can see that he's actually putting some drugs in the container and then some drugs in a bag. And it kind of does explain that a little bit more. And you also end up seeing that girl who's basically, you know, playing him. You end up seeing her in the picture. She looks like now she knows where his drugs are at. So she's basically going to kick his ass out. Now in this scene, Proctor ends up going to go visit Ghost at Truth, and you can tell he's basically scared because that witness is going to end up putting Ghost basically in jail, or try to put Ghost in jail, and somehow it's just going to fall on Proctor and it's just going to all fall down. And Proctor ends up finding out that Ghost went to go see the witness, but Ghost didn't do anything besides bribe her. And he's basically like, why would you do that? Why would you not just kill her? Ghost is obviously trying to change a whole new leaf because he's seen Angela in his head, and he's basically just trying to become a different person. Now, of course, Tariq is still selling the drugs to the Irish, and when obviously Tommy told him to stop fucking with him, but he ain't listening to nobody. He sees that it's money being made. He can just do whatever he wants. So he's selling to the Irish, and I'm pretty sure he's screwing them over. So here you end up seeing Proctor call Tommy. He ends up telling Tommy that Ghost found the witness, but he didn't do anything. He just gave her money. So Proctor is basically telling Tommy that he needs to kill her. Tommy ends up like laughing because it's like, look, this lawyer who used to be this person who didn't want nobody to die, to now you need to kill this person. And it is true, Proctor's changed. Proctor ends up going home, and out of nowhere, Boss X comes out. He plays a recording of his wife basically dying, and Proctor's just there telling him, "You're not gonna take my daughter away." Boss X is telling him, "If you want this recording to go away, then you need to give me what I want. Tell me who killed Angela." And he ends up just leaving it as that. Kind of jumps to another scene. It makes it seem like Proctor's just gonna think about it. He ends up going inside. He ends up talking to, I believe it's his cousin, and he tells his cousin that the reason why his ex-wife is dead is because of him. He knew exactly what to tell her to basically get her off the wagon, and he did not even help her when she was overdosing. He didn't call 911. He didn't do anything. So now he's kind of stuck on what he should do, because if he tells who actually killed Angela, it ends up being Tommy. And Tommy's a stone cold killer. He'll kill anybody. He don't care. He ain't got no conscience of doing nothing. So he's talking to his cousin. He just doesn't even know what to do. His cousin is basically telling him, "You know what? I'll take them both off." Obviously, that's not going to happen because they'll most likely just murk his ass. So Proctor's basically saying, "You know what? I'm not even going to rat. I'm just going to handle this the way I know how to handle it." So Boss X ends up coming back into his house, basically giving him kind of like a confidential informant agreement that he needs to sign. But Proctor knows how that whole thing rolls, and he doesn't want to deal with nothing like that. He says he wasn't going to rat, but he basically rat. He told Boss X that it wasn't Ghost who killed them, who killed Angela. It was Tommy who killed him. Obviously, Boss X is not believing that. So he's basically saying, "You know what? I'm not believing nothing of what you're saying." Proctor tells him, "If you put me on the stand, that's exactly what I'm going to tell him, because it's the truth. Tommy killed Angela." Now, the agreement was, if Proctor tells Boss X who killed Angela, that he would delete the recording. And basically, the deal still stands. Proctor ends up telling him, "You know what? I'll find a safer place to go to, because I just don't trust your track record. You've gotten a hell of people killed, and I'm not even going to deal with you." So this is the scene I was actually talking about, on how the dean actually found all the drugs, because there was an anonymous tip of him actually having his drugs on, basically being hidden on the ceiling. And Tariq automatically says, "Yo, those are baby aspirins. They're nothing." But the dean is basically telling him, when you're out there selling drugs, do they think that they're buying baby aspirin from you, or it's something else? Tariq automatically tells them that they think that it's something else. So his ass gets expelled, and Tasha's just furious with him. He ends up seeing kind of like a checkmate thing, so he knew who that anonymous tip was, and it was that girl who set him up. This is kind of like where it starts getting a little bit intense. It starts picking up a little bit. Proctor ends up going to Ghost, tells him, "Hey, can I stay with you for a little bit, because I'm testifying against this real bad guy, and he knows exactly where I live." Ghost doesn't know anything about, he's pointing the finger towards Tommy. He thinks it's just one of his old clients, or maybe his old people that he's just testifying against. So it has nothing to do with Tommy, as far as Ghost knows. He asks if he can actually stay there. Ghost obviously says, "You know what? Go ahead and stay here." And it kind of gives off like the impression that maybe Proctor is going to be safe. Tasha ends up coming out of the elevator, and Tariq is with her. She ends up telling Ghost, "Ask your son why he got expelled from school." Ghost is automatically pissed. He bucks up to him, basically like, "Why the hell did you get expelled?" Tariq, he's basically not even, he doesn't even care. You can actually tell from his face he doesn't care. To me, I think he needed to get his ass beat by Ghost. I think so. And it actually makes it seem like Tariq is actually happy to sell drugs, because he's basically following in his father's footsteps. Ghost grabs him by the shirt, tries to like push him up against the wall, and Tariq just says, "You know what, get the fuck off me." And I actually thought that they were gonna fight, but Tasha jumps in the middle, and basically like they all separate. Tariq goes to his room, Ghost calms down, and he ends up trying to put the blame on Tasha. Now, I think Proctor actually did something smart on this scene. He basically ends up giving Lisa Marie, his daughter, a necklace. And that necklace is basically a heart, and it's a heart necklace. And once you open it, it looks like an SD card in it. And he ends up telling his daughter that is his biggest secret. It's basically like his insurance policy. If anything does happen to Proctor, Lisa Marie has this SD card, and she can probably just give it to the feds. And I think the what's in that SD card is the recording of Tommy killing that CIA agent a while back, a couple of seasons back, and Proctor basically covered it up. Now, I thought this scene was actually pretty funny. Tasha ends up asking Tommy if she can actually give him some money. Tommy's like, I can't help you no more. Keisha ended up bumping into Tasha in some store, and she was pissed, and she kind of like took it out on Tommy. So Tommy is basically telling Tasha, I can't help you no more because I need Keisha on my side. Now what Tasha tells to Tommy, I thought that shit was funny. See if you can hear it.
Tommy, the pussy that good?
Now you remember that guy who ended up coming up to Tasha saying, hey, you need to pay me if you want to keep your daycare here? He ends up coming back. Tasha ends up telling him, you know what, I ain't got your money for you, but I heard around and I heard that you move away. So how about you give me some of that and we can talk business. The guy, he kind of makes it seem like he doesn't want to do it, but he hands her off some drugs and just keeps it moving, tells her, if you can sell this, we can talk. Now, you see Tommy going into a window, and I don't know where he's at. I thought he was at Proctor's. Maybe he went to go see Proctor, but then again, he doesn't know what Proctor's doing. I thought that maybe he went to go see Keisha, because people are telling him that she doesn't have the stomach for what's going on. So I thought he was going to go scare her. But it turns out he actually knows where that witness lives as well. So he went to go see that witness. He hides in the closet because Boss X is also with the witness as well. Boss X is basically talking to the witness, trying to get the story straight. And instead of her pointing the finger at Ghost, she's now pointing the finger at Tommy. And Tommy ends up hearing that. He also ends up hearing that Boss X tells the witness that he also has Proctor. Proctor is going to end up testifying against Tommy, telling him what happened. And Tommy hears all that. He ends up coming out of the closet. And of course, as savage as Tommy is, he just shoots her right in her head. And man, the way it looked was sick, man. So you remember on the last episode on how Alicia was basically drugged by one of Proctor's guys? Well, that same guy ends up calling Proctor saying, hey, you need to come see me because I'm basically being scared. You need to come see me. Proctor ends up telling him, you know what, I can't. I'm over here at this friend's house. It's in Tribeca. And they basically just hang up the phones. His friend who drugged Alicia ends up getting shot by one of Tommy's goons. He ends up telling Tommy, hey, I know where Proctor is, but he doesn't have an exact location. He just knows it's in Tribeca. Automatically, Tommy knew who he's staying with, so he ends up calling Tariq. Tariq answers the phone, and Tommy is telling him, hey, I need you to turn off the alarm. I need you to get out of the house and leave the back door open. Yeah, man. Tariq automatically thinks that maybe Tommy's trying to kill Ghost, and he's like, you know, I thought you were going to let me know that you were going to kill him. Tommy's like, you know what? I'm not even going to kill him. It's somebody else. Tariq knows who it is because he knows who's actually staying there. So he ends up walking out of his room and he hears Lisa Marie crying. He didn't even know that Lisa Marie was there. So he asked her, hey, do you want to go with me to go get some hot chocolate? And she ends up leaving, which I'm actually glad he did that. But in a way, I thought that it was fucked up that he did that. Now, I'm going to drop a spoiler here. Main reason why is because Tommy is going over to Ghost House to go kill Proctor because he knows that he's going to snitch. So Tariq takes Lisa Marie out of the house, and then Tommy ends up coming into the house a couple minutes later. And I actually thought this scene was badass because Tommy basically calls him a rat and he tries to shoot him. And I thought Proctor was just going to stand there and take it. But nah, he ends up jumping forward and getting behind a couch, and he actually ends up shooting back. So he got some balls on him. So he ends up running away. But of course, you're at the top of the penthouse. Where else are you going to go? So he starts running from room to room to room because he doesn't know that Lisa Marie is not there. He ends up trying to go find her, but he doesn't know that his daughter's not there. So he calls her, tries to ask her, where you at? She's like, I went to go get some hot chocolate. So now he can kind of like rest a little bit easier because his daughter's going to live. But he straight up tells her, I'm not going to be able to see you no more. And he basically tells her that he loves her, and he hangs up. And then from there, he just stands there and takes all the shots that Tommy gives him. Proctor ends up telling his daughter to go to his cousin's house because that's the only place that she will be safe. And I'm actually glad that Tariq didn't do some stupid shit. He actually took her to the cousin's house and just left her there. And then The Irish people that Tariq was selling drugs to, they come out of nowhere because they said that they've been following him and there was some issues with the drugs. Now, I think what he was doing is he was probably replacing baby aspirin with the regular pills, and he was kind of like swapping them in. And he basically screwed over the Irish, and they know about it. So they end up taking him. Now you end up seeing Bossack get a phone call from his boss, and he's telling them, you basically need to come look at this because the witness is dead. And he ends up being at the same scene where Joe Proctor is dead. So the witness is gone, and now Joe Proctor is gone. So his case, it seems like it's just plummeted. Now, of course, Ghost goes back into his apartment, and he ends up seeing that whole scene, and he doesn't know that Tariq's not there. He's thinking that Tariq got hurt. But he ends up getting a phone call from Tariq telling him, hey, I need you to come over here. Tommy ends up getting a text saying, hey, I need you to come over here. It's an emergency. Tommy says where, and he just drives off. You see Ghost and Tommy end up seeing each other, and it looks like Tommy was about to shoot him. But then you hear that Irish guy saying, the reason why you're here is because of me. Now, your son was selling me some fucked up shit, and now you owe me $2 million. So now Ghost and Tommy end up basically teaming up all over again just so they can save Tariq. So it looks like they kind of put their beef aside just so they can actually help Tariq, and then maybe they'll pick up right after. I'm telling you, this episode was crazy. You have to go watch this episode. Hopefully these little clips I gave you, maybe that'll make you want to, like, I need to go check this out. And if you haven't seen Power, drop everything. You need to go watch this. This show is amazing. So that's basically it on Power for season 6, episode 5. Next episode looks like it's crazy. Looks like they're about to ask a lot of drugs from Jason, which is where they're getting their drugs from. And it looks like they all team up and they're trying to sell drugs left and right just so they can come up with that $2 million. And they only have 24 hours to actually get him his money. So next episode, I bet is going to be good. So keep in tune to this channel. Comment, like, subscribe. Let me know how I'm doing. And another thing, there's a ton of shows coming out. So I don't know, maybe I'll drop a couple videos here and there. There's a lot of them coming out. I mean, I'm gonna check out Prodigal Son. That one actually looks pretty good. 911's coming back. The Neighborhood is coming back. Bluff City, All Rise. I mean, a ton of episodes are just coming back, and a ton of new series are also coming as well. So keep in tune to this channel. If there is something you want me to check out that I haven't mentioned, just let me know in the comments and I'll see if I can review it. So I'll see you on the next one. Peace.